Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back to the second part of the lecture that's about stanza forms. In the previous lecture, we discussed some of the well-known forms of stanza in English poetry, and now we will continue from where we left. So we start with quatrain as one of the stanza form in English poetry. So let's discuss what is quatrain. A quatrain is a stanza of 4 iambic lines. So how many lines will be there? There will be 4 lines. A quatrain consists of 4 iambic lines. And these 4 lines will rhyme alternatively. Like line 1 will rhyme with line 3rd and line 2 will rhyme with line number 4. But we don't have such kind of strict rules that all the time we will have such kind of structure that line 1 will rhyme with line 3rd and line 2 will rhyme with line 4. Sometimes we will have variation, and such kind of variation in quatrain are frequently found. So, the first line rhymes with the third and the second with the fourth. However, variation of this rhyme scheme are frequent. We can find variation. Sometime we will find that the first line will rhyme with the second, or sometime we will find that the first line will rhyme with the third. Right? So we can have variation. Similarly, the length of the lines also varies. By length of the line varies, we mean that sometime we can have pentameter, sometime we can have tetrameter, sometime we can have hexameter. It means that sometime a line may have 4 feet, sometime a line may have 6 feet, sometime a line may have 8 feet. So this is variation in length. Sometime we will have the rhyming scheme, variation in rhyming scheme, and sometime we may have variation in structure or variation in the length of the stanza. So the line may be pentameter, tetrameter, or even shorter. This is okay when we talk about the length of lines. So a line in a quatrain may be tetrameter, pentameter, dimeter, or even monometer, right? So variations are there. Sometimes the first and the third lines are longer than the second and the fourth line. So when they are longer, then we will have more feet, or like the feet of the first line would be different than the meter or the feet of the second and third line. So for example, in the first line, we are using a meter, that is pentameter. Then in the second line, we may have the same pentameter. But in the third, we may have hexameter, or we may have a shorter one, that is like a tetrameter. Or we can have like dimeter, or we can have like monometer. Most of the ballad in the English language have been written in quatrain, so it is also referred to as ballad stanza. Why do we call it ballad stanza? Because most of the ballad which were produced in English language that have been written in quatrain. So that's why this stanza form is also referred as ballad stanza. And we have the finest example of ballad. One is of Coleridge, the Ancient Mariner, and one is of the example of Keats, La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. So these are the 2 poems. Whenever these poems come in your mind, so what comes in mind? Quatrain. And in quatrain, what comes in mind? Ballad. That's why this stanza form, what we call a quatrain, is also referred as ballad stanza. Let's analyze the metrical feet and the meter that is used in this stanza. As we discussed that quatrain is usually structured in iambic. So this quatrain is also structured in iambic metrical feet. Let's discuss line 1. The sun came up upon the left. So it is iambic metrical feet. So the first foot, the sun, unstressed and stressed, the sun. The second foot, came up, and the third foot upon, and the fourth foot the left. So overall we have here 4 feet and we have 8 syllable. So this is then called iambic tetrameter. The meter is tetra because we have 4 feet and 8 syllable, while the metrical feet is iambic. So the first line of this stanza is written in iambic tetrameter. Let's discuss the second line. Out of the sea came he. So what is the structure of the second line? Second line is again written in iambic metrical feet, but the number of feet are different. How many feet do we have? Out of the sea came he. We have here 3 feet, right? So that's why the second line would be called iambic trimeter. Tri mean 3. So we have 3 meter, 6 syllable, and the rhythmic pattern is iambic. So the first line, iambic tetrameter. The second line, iambic trimeter. Let's analyze the third line. And he shone bright and on the right. So again, the third line is structured in iambic rhythmical pattern, but the meter is different again, and the meter is tetra. So the first line is also iambic tetrameter, and the third line is also iambic tetrameter. See, and he, that is 1 foot, shone bright, that is 2nd foot, and on, that is 3rd foot, the right, that is 4 foot. So we have 4 feet. 4 feet mean that the meter is tetrameter, and the rhythmic pattern is iambic. So iambic tetrameter. Let's analyze the last and fourth line. Went down into the sea. So how many feet do we have? Went on, that is 1 foot. Into, that is 2nd foot. The sea, that is 3rd foot. So we have again 3 feet here. So the rhythmic or metrical feet would be iambic, and the meter would be trimeter. So we can call it that it is structured in iambic trimeter. So the stanza consists of 4 lines, right? And there is variation in the length of the line, because the first line it has 4 feet, the second line has 3 feet, the third line has 4 feet, and the fourth line has 3 feet again. So the first line would be called iambic tetrameter, the second iambic trimeter, the third iambic tetrameter, and the fourth iambic trimeter. So this stanza is written in 2 different meters. One is tetrameter and one is trimeter, while the metrical feet is the same, that is iambic metrical feet. In this slide, we will discuss the heroic couplet. Couplet means 2. The heroic couplet consists of 2 iambic pentameter lines rhyming together. So we will have 2 lines in the heroic couplet, and these 2 lines will rhyme together. And the 2 lines will be structured in iambic pentameter. Pentameter means that there will be 5 feet and 10 syllable. And iambic means that the rhythmical pattern would be unstressed and stress. Now it is called heroic because iambic pentameter words rhyme or unrhyme. Now why do we call it the heroic couplet? Because iambic pentameter can be rhyme or it can be unrhyme. So when we say the heroic couplet, so then the 2 lines will rhyme together. And when we say the iambic pentameter, then iambic pentameter may be rhyme or may be unrhyme. Is it clear? Now, it is called heroic couplet. Iambic pentameter words rhyme or unrhyme was first used for epic or heroic poetry. It is an important measure as far as English poetry is concerned. most of the poetry of the Augustan age, the age of Dryden and Pope 1660 and 1750, is cast in this measure. So most of the poetry in Augustan age is written in this structure. In this structure mean in heroic couplet. So once again, let me repeat it for you, that when we say the heroic couplet, so the two lines would rhyme together. And when we say iambic pentameter, so in iambic pentameter, there may be, the two lines may be rhyme or may be unrhyme. But in the heroic couplet, the two iambic pentameter lines, they rhyme together. Here we have the explanation of the heroic couplet. Each line of the heroic couplet consists of 5 feet or 10 syllables, and the second syllable of each foot is accented. The two lines of the couplet rhyme, and the rhyme may be single or double, though Pop, the ableist practitioners of the verse form, generally use single rhyme. In the middle, there is a pause technically called the caesura. This pause generally falls after the fourth and before the sixth syllable, but variation in the placing of the pause may be skillfully introduced in keeping with the requirements of thoughts and emotions. Now further, there may be variation not only in the placing of the caesura but also in its depth. Sometimes this pause is so slight that it seems there is no pause at all. So this is the explanation of the heroic couplet. Characteristic of the heroic couplet. The chief characteristics of the heroic couplet are well illustrated by the following one. Here we have example of the heroic couplet. Grow not at grow, each alley has a brother, and half the platform just reflect the other. So you can see the heroic couplet, and in each line we have 5 feet and 10 syllable, and the pattern is unstressed and stress. And these two lines rhyme together. You can see brother and other. Now each line of the couplet has 5 feet, and the second syllable in each foot is accented. The position of the pause is indicated by the comma. The last syllable of the brother rhyme with the last syllable of other. Kinds of heroic couplet. The heroic couplet may be of two kinds, close or run-on. By close we mean that the sense is completed. By run-on we mean that the sense is shifted to another couplet. In the close couplet, the sense is completed with each couplet. In each couplet, a sense is completed, and in each thus form a complete sentence, a unit in itself. The couplet cited above is of the close variety that we practiced in the previous slide. In the run-on variety, the sense run on from one couplet to another till it is completed. So in run-on couplet, the sense is not completed, it run on to another couplet. Now in this case, the individual couplet does not form a unit, but the unit is formed by a group of couplet which complete the sense, and this large unit is called the verse paragraph. I hope you got it, the point that we have two kinds of couplet. One is called close and one is called run-on. In close couplet, the sense is completed and it's like just like a paragraph. While in run-on couplet, the sense is not completed. The idea or sense is shifted to another couplet and go on until that this the sense is shifted to another couplet until a sense is not completed. So this is like the overall idea behind the two kind of couplet, close couplet and run-on couplet. The use of heroic couplet. The heroic couplet was first used in England by Chaucer, who might have learned it from the French sources. He used this measure for many of the stories in the Canterbury Tale. Spenser used it with great skill for the Mother Hubbard tale. Marlowe too used it with great success for his Hero and Lanter. However, it was in the Augustan age that the heroic couplet came to its own. At the very beginning of the era, poet Waller and Denham showed great skill in the use. The excellence and dignity of rhyme, says Dryden, were never fully known till Mr. Waller thought it. He first made writing easily an art and first showed us to conclude the sense most commonly in the distinct. Pope says a tribute to both and praise the vigor of a line where Denham's strength and Waller's sweetness join. Thank you so much. It was all about stanza and its various types.